What is poppin', people? You already know who it is. What If King back again with another lit What If. So today is going to be the 100 subscriber special. I know it's a little bit late, but for this one, well, obviously I'm gonna be starting a new What If, and it's actually going to be what if Asta had sunshine. So I'm really looking forward to this one actually, because like the 7 Deadly Sins honestly is one of my favorite anime of all time, and Black Clover is also one of my favorite anime of all time. It's like right up there with Naruto and Dragon Ball, so like, I'm really looking forward to doing this one. So for Asta's magic, it's gonna be sunshine. He's gonna be, prideful, just like Escanor, who, just in case you don't know you don't know who Escanor is, he's the one who actually has sunshine in the 7 Deadly Sins anime. And so, in case you don't know what sunshine is, it's, magic, obviously. And the power grows as the sun rises. And when, it's at its most powerful at high noon, which is when Escanor would go into the one form, which is like, his most powerful form. Or actually, recently it's the one ultimate, but I'm not too sure I'm gonna give Asta that, but we'll see. He is gonna have the one form though. And actually later on I might give him the one ultimate form, which is like going into the one form, but it's like it lasts way longer than just 1 minute, which it usually does in the 7 Deadly Sins anime. So Asta's gonna have the one form. He's also actually, I'm not even gonna say, because you'll see when he gets, you'll see. But yeah, so that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna be prideful, just like Escanor is, like very prideful. And instead of like, how Escanor in the 7 Deadly Sins anime, when it turns like nighttime, he'll become like this weak, short, timid kind of person, but that's not gonna happen with Asta. I'm sort of gonna kind of fix it a little bit to the point where that won't happen, because I'm gonna give him like sort of another power kind of to make sure that doesn't happen or anything like that. So at first it will, because like he's not gonna have that power that I'm gonna give him at first, but like when he gets his grimoire, that's when it's not really gonna happen anymore. Alright, so enough talking, let's get into this lit What If. So we start our story off, and it's nighttime, it's snowing, and the priest who's inside of the church hears crying, so he goes out and he sees that there's like 2 babies. So he decides to bring him in the church, and he does that, and he sort of like peels back the blanket on one of them, and on the clothing it says and then he looks at the other baby, pulls back the blanket to see if there's like a name on his clothing, and it says Asta. So does that, and as he does that, the baby obviously kicks the priest, because like no matter what, that's really not gonna change. So he kicks the priest and just breaks the priest's nose pretty easily. And the priest, he's shocked that the baby's so physically strong already, because like he doesn't really sense that much magic from him. Like it's really faint. But obviously that's gonna change when it starts to become day and the sun starts to rise. So, we fast forward, and honestly, I'm gonna, like, skip the part where Asta fights the drunk man and helps Yuno and everything. Like, I'm just gonna skip that part, because you guys already know how that goes. And honestly, it's gonna pretty much go the same way it goes in canon, because, like, at the time when they were, like, fighting the drunk man, it was nighttime, so he's not really gonna have access to his sunshine power. But, we'll, fast forward a little bit, and they're both 15. And, Sister Lily and the priest, they notice how, like, as soon as the sun starts to rise, Asta's magical power becomes more prominent, and they can feel it way more. But when it starts to set, it's sort of like, for some reason, it starts to be less, they can feel it less, and it becomes really faint. So, they're thinking that, his magic has something to do with the sun, but they don't know what it is yet. So, it's the day of the Grimoire ceremony, so and Asta, they go to the Grimoire Tower, and, the Grimoire Tower mage, the one who, like, protects the tower or whatever, he comes out, makes a speech, and then the ceremony starts, and everybody starts getting their grimoires and things. And then there is, that flash of light, and it heads straight towards and, and then, everybody sees that it's a 4-leaf grimoire, and everybody's shocked, because they're just, they have sort of like a prejudice towards commoners, because, or, like, a lot of them are commoners, but, like, they've been, like, put down because they're commoners and don't have a lot of magic, and Yuno's a commoner, or, yeah, he's a commoner, for now, anyway, but, so, yeah, they're pretty shocked that he has a 4-leaf grimoire, and then Asta walks up to Yuno, and he's like, I would expect nothing less from my rival, but just because you have a 4-leaf grimoire doesn't mean you'll ever become stronger than me. I am the one who stands at the pinnacle of all. And then, a bright flash of light again, and this time it heads straight towards Asta. And everybody sees that it's a 5-leaf grimoire. And, not a lot of people know about the rumors of, a devil residing inside of the 5-leaf grimoire, but, like, the tower mage does, and he's, like, pretty surprised, and, he starts to wonder if, like, the rumors are true and everything. And Asta's grimoire, it's pretty big, it's, like, big, and it has a 5-leaf clover, and, the 5-leaf clover is sort of, like, inside, like, this big, like, circle that's supposed to, like, represent the sun, and it has, like, little designs on the edges and stuff, and, yeah, so, the devil that Asta has in canon, he's gonna have, in this What If as well, and he's gonna sort of be able to turn his, like, sunshine magic into, like, a dark devil kind of sunshine magic, and when he uses that, it'll be, like, instead of, like, looking like the actual sun, bright and yellow, and, like, heat coming off of it, it'll just be, like, dark black, and it'll look like the sun, like, it'll have the same shape as the sun, obviously, but it's gonna be, like, dark and black, and there's sort of gonna be, like, an ominous feeling coming off of it, and everybody's gonna be able to feel it, and instead of heat, there's gonna be, like, a sort of coolness to it. So, that's how I'm sort of gonna, like, make sure that the he doesn't turn into like a short, timid, weak person at night, because he'll have like a power of the dark sun, and it'll be night, so yeah, he won't do that. And when actually he'll have like 2 of the one forms, kind of, because he'll have one at high noon, and he'll also have one at midnight. Because yeah, at midnight he'll also sort of like, he'll be able to turn into the one. He'll actually like be able to control if he turns into the one or not, for like both the regular sunshine and dark sunshine. I'm not too sure what to call it. Like, I could call it like Devil Sunshine magic, or maybe like Dark Sunshine magic. I don't know. Just like put it in the comments below, or in, like, what name you think is better, or like if you have any ideas of what the name could be, like, yourself, that I haven't said, then, you know, just put it in the comments down below. I'm pretty sure I might go with Devil Sunshine magic, because I think that just sounds cooler. Or I could like say Demon Sunshine magic, but I think Devil Sunshine magic works. I think I'm gonna do that. But, you know, just put it in the comments down below. I could retcon it if you guys want. So, yeah. So that's what happens. And, so after that, Yuno goes outside, gets attacked by the nobles or whatever, because they're jealous that he has a 4-leaf grimoire. And then, he's just easily defending them, against their spells, not even like using his grimoire. He still has wind magic in this one, obviously. And, of course, Revchi, the chain mage, comes and he knocks out the 2 nobles and he binds Yuno. And then Asta comes out and he's like, he hears Revchi saying that he's gonna take Yuna's grimoire and like sell it and get like lots of money or whatever. And Asta's obviously, he's like not having it. So he goes out and he's like, "Excuse me, but what do you think you're doing to my rival?" And then Revchi looks back and is like, "Get lost, kid. Come on, you really don't stand a chance. I'm a former magic knight." And then Asta, he does that sort of like pose that Escanor does when he's like being really prideful, like he puts his finger up in the air. And he says, "It doesn't matter if you're an ex-magic knight, I'm still more powerful than you, because I am at the pinnacle of all races." And then he takes out the Demon Slayer sword. But instead of like the Demon Slayer sword being like all black, like it usually is in canon, it's gonna sort of have like, it's like gonna be sort of like yellow. Actually, it's just gonna be yellow, like the sun. And he like rushes towards Revchi, and Revchi just cackles, and then he sends like a bunch of chains at Asta. But Asta just easily cuts through every single one. Asta is gonna have like sort of like anti-magic in this one. It's sort of gonna be infused with his sunshine magic. Like when he uses Devil Sunshine magic, it's gonna be anti-magic combined with sunshine magic, and he can also use just anti-magic by itself. Right now, he's like sort of using both. So it's sort of like a dark sheen to the sword, but it's still like yellow. So he's just easily cutting through all the chains, and then he gets up and close to Revchi, and he says, "Didn't I tell you that it doesn't matter if you're an ex-magic knight, that I'm still stronger than you? You really don't stand a chance." And then he just slams his sword down on Revchi, knocking him out instantly. And then the Magic Knights come, they arrest Revchi and all of that. And then the nobles that Revchi knocked out, they're still knocked out. So Asta goes over to them and he looks at them and he says, "I pity these weaklings." and he uses like sort of a healing spell. He says sunshine magic, sun sparkles, and then it sort of like just heals them instantly, and they wake up, and then they see Asta towering over them, because like in this one, Asta's like really, he's like way more muscular and taller than he is in canon. So, you know, they get pretty scared and they just run off. And then Asta goes over to Yuno. And he's like, I gotta say, it's unbecoming of my rival to get captured so easily. How in the world did that happen? And then Yuno just scoffs and he's like, he caught me off guard, that was all. And then Asta's just like, yeah, well, make sure it doesn't happen again. You're my rival. You can't be that weak. And then Yuno's just like, yeah, whatever. You won't be saying I'm weak when I become the Wizard King. And then Asta's just like, if you become the Wizard King, then I'll just find a position that's higher than the Wizard King. And Yuno just gawks at him. He's just like, bruh, are you serious? And then Asta's like, I am at the pinnacle of all. And then he just walks away. And Yuno's just shaking his head. He's just like, you know, whatever. So after that, they're back at the church and they're eating dinner. And then Asta says to everyone, he says, okay, so I've decided I'm leaving. And then the priest looks at him confused and is like, what do you mean you're leaving? And then Asta says, I only have a few months to get ready for the Magic Knights exam. And while I really don't think I need to train anymore, because I'm pretty sure I'm already powerful than the rest of them, but just in case, I guess I should. I want to get used to my new powers, and I can't have any distractions, so I'm gonna go. And then the priest, you know, he sees where Asta's coming from, and he's just like, alright, but like, be careful and everything. And then Asta's just like, you don't have to tell me that. And then Yuno says, you know, I've decided that I'm gonna be leaving too. I also want to train without any distractions. And then the priest just nods his head. He's like, alright, you two, but remember, come back before the Magic Knights exam. And then Asta's just like, of course. And so they go to bed, and then the next day, early in the morning, before anybody wakes up, Asta leaves. He just, like, sort of, honestly, like, we'll just say, like, he goes into, like, a forest, or whatever. He says, like, and to, like, go, instead of, like, just walking or running or anything like that, he says, sunshine magic, Apollo's chariot. And then, a chariot, you know, being pulled by, horses, obviously, he gets in, and he starts to go, and he, like, gets to, like, this forest, and then that's when he starts to train, his sunshine magic. And he also starts to train with his devil sunshine magic, and he realizes that his devil sunshine magic isn't as powerful in the day as it is at night. And he also realizes that instead of like reverting back to like a sort of timid and weak form, he still stays in his buff sort of form. And he's like, that must be because of this sort of dark sunshine magic. He doesn't know that there's like a devil inside of his grimoire yet, so he's just like calling it dark sunshine magic. But yeah, so that happens, and he's training, and then he actually gets a new spell, and it's the Divine Axe Rita, and he pulls it out, and he starts training with that, because, you know, obviously, why not? And he's also training with his Demon Slayer sword at the same time. And he realizes that he's not really too good at, swordsmanship or whatever, but obviously he's not going to say that out loud because he's too prideful for that. But then, all of a sudden he hears this, sort of scream, this, low-pitched sort of scream, and he sees a naked man running towards him, and behind him are, a bunch of wild boars surrounded by, flame magic. And the man's saying, "Help, help!" And then Asta's just like, well, I guess I should. I mean, I really don't like interrupting my training. But who knows, maybe these boar will provide a good challenge for me. Probably not, but we'll see. So then he pulls out the Divine Axe Rita, and then he jumps up over the man and lands in between him and the boar, and he just easily slashes each of them, sending them flying back and into trees, and all of them are just dead, And then the man turns around and he's like, "Whew, thank you for that one." And then Asta's just like, "Yes, of course. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'll be getting back to my training." And then he goes back to where he was and brings out his Demon Slayer sword. And, he starts training with it. Now, Fazal Kruger, which is the man that he saved, he can see that Asta's having kind of trouble with his sword, and he's not completely used to it. And he was way better at using the, one-handed axe than he is at using the sword. So he goes, gets his clothes back on, and then he goes to Asta and he says, "If you want, I can train you to use that sword better." And then Asta looks at him and he says, "I don't need any training. I'm the strongest." And then Fazal Kruger says, "Well, not from where I'm standing. You look pretty uncomfortable with using that sword." And then Asta looks back at the sword, and then he looks at Fazal Kruger again. And he's like, "Are you any good at using a sword?" And then Fazal Kruger starts to use his wind magic, and he generates a sort of wind sword. And he's like, "Yeah, as you can see, I can use my wind magic to create swords." And then Asta, he bites down his pride a little bit, and he's like, "Alright, fine." And then he's like, "But what's your name?" And then Fazal says, "My name is Fazal Kruger. What's yours?" And then Asta says, "My name is Asta." And then Fazal is just like, "Oh, well, nice to meet you, Asta." And, yeah. So that's basically what happens, and they're training with the Demon Slayer sword, and Asta gets way better, cause he just gets way better, cause he trains sort of with it, with Fazal too, for a lot longer, and he's also training with Divine Axe Rita, and he finds out that he can also use this sort of other ability, and it seems to be able to easily just cancel out Fazal's magic. So he wants to see if it can, he wants to go and experiment and see if it can do it to other types of magic, and if it's only just wind magic. So he was like, I'll do that later. So they're training and things like that, and just getting to know each other, and after that, it's a week before the Magic Knights exam, and then Asta says, "Well, thank you for the training, Fazal, but I probably should get going." And by now, Fazal, he knows about Asta's, family at the church, and how he wants to be the Wizard King, and he's going to be doing the Magic Knights exam and all of that, so he knows why he's leaving. And Fazal's just like, "Alright, Asta, but don't forget, you have to become the Wizard King and get rid of the prejudice in this kingdom." And then Asta looks at him, and he's like, trust me, you don't have to tell me that. I'll eradicate it easily. And then Fazal, he just chuckles, because, he's, like, pretty used to Asta being really prideful and things like that. So Asta takes out his grimoire and says, sunshine magic, Apollo's chariot. So that happens, and then he, starts to go to the church. And on his way, he sees a wild boar, so he goes down and he slays it and then picks it up and decides to take it to the church so they can all eat it. So then he's heading back to the church again, and when he gets there, Sister Lily's out hanging laundry. And when she sees him, she's like, oh, Asta, you're back. And then she calls out all the kids, and the priest comes out, and they're all happy and hugging Asta and things. And Asta's happy to see them again. And then they're talking. And then Asta, he's just like, alright, well, I hope you're all hungry because I brought food. And then he points to the board. And then the little boy, I think his name is like Nash or something. He says, wait, did you slay that? And then Asta looks at him and he's like, of course I did. And then Nash just says in his mind, that's so cool. And then Sister Lily's just like, well, that's gonna take a lot to cook. And then Asta's just like, oh, nah, I got you, no problem. And then he goes over to the boar, and then he cuts, off the, tusks or horns or whatever. He cuts those off, throws them away. And then he starts to use sort of like a mini cruel sun, which is sun, sort of like a mini form, I guess. And he puts it inside of the boar, and then all of a sudden just like intense heat and steam just start to come off the boar. And when all of it clears, all of a sudden it's like cooked. And he's like, alright, all done. And then Sister Lily's just like, yeah, but don't you have to drain the blood and all of that? And what about the bones? And Asta's just like, oh, don't worry. The blood's been incinerated by my son, and so have the bones for that matter. And honestly, it wouldn't even matter if they were still there. And then Sister Lily, she's just like, true. And she's actually pretty surprised that Asta's getting such good control over his magic, because it used to just sort of be wild and things like that. So she's pretty impressed. And then they're going inside, and then all of a sudden Asta stops, and then he smirks. And then they all turn around and they're like, what's wrong, Asta? And then Asta's just like, well, it seems as though I'm not the only one who decided to come back today. And then it clicks in their minds and wait, is coming? And Asta says, yeah, I can sense him. And that's when finally appears. And he sees Asta and he's like, well, Asta, I think I can sense, it seems as though you've gotten stronger. And then Asta looks back at him and he's like, of course I got stronger. What do you think I was doing? Just relaxing? And then sort of just smirks. And then Asta's like, it seems as though you've gotten stronger as well. I wouldn't expect anything less from my rival. And then it's just like, you really say that a lot. And then Asta's just like, yeah, well, get used to it. And then they go in, they eat the boar, all of that. They have a good time. And then they head to the Magic Night exam the next, week. Or, yeah. And, so they get there, much faster than they do in canon, because Asta, he uses his, Apollo's chariot to take him and there, and it goes pretty fast. So they get there, they get into the line, shows the, sort of person at the desk, his grimoire. Asta shows him his grimoire, and like he's pretty shocked because like a 4-leaf and a 5-leaf, and they're like in the hands of commoners. Like what? So they go in. All the Magic Knight captains come out. All of that. Asta in this one, obviously he's just gonna be acing every single one of the tests because he's just that freaking good. And unlike in canon, he's not gonna fight Seke for like the 1v1 sort of thing because Seke is just not gonna want to fight him because he sees how much magic Asta has and how powerful he is and how like well he can control it. So we're just gonna say let's see, I don't want to do like a sort of random noble or whatever, a random noble or like royal, so I think we're gonna say Yami, he gets up and he says, hey, how about we let that kid face an actual Magic Knight? And he points at Asta. And then all the Magic Knight captains, you know, they've been pretty impressed with Asta, with all of the tests he's been doing and acing every single one of them. And so they're just like, alright, but who's gonna volunteer? And then Soul, which is like, I'm pretty sure she's the girl who like accompanies like Charlotte, the captain of the Blue Rose Knights, to the Magic Knights exam. She's like, I'll take him on and I'll pummel him. And then they're just like, alright, cool. So they face off. And Asta's just like, so they decided they wanted me to face an actual Magic Knight rather than someone who's trying to become a Magic Knight. Well, makes sense. I guess they've seen my power. And then, Soul is just like, you know, you're pretty cocky. I think I'm gonna knock you down a peg or two. And then she starts to create, like, the Earth Golem that she uses in canon. And then Asta's just like, I don't think so. I'm a lot more stronger than you. And then he takes out his Demon Slayer sword and he rushes at the golem and just stabs it, and cracks start to form from where he stabbed it, and it just shatters. And then he says, cruel sun. And then he says, sunshine magic, cruel sun. And then he hits Soul with it and just renders her unconscious immediately. And all of the Magic Knight captains are pretty impressed. Yuno's not surprised. And all of the people who are trying out for the Magic Knights, they're pretty surprised and impressed, and some of them actually leave because they're like, yeah, with this guy there's no way we're getting in. So yeah, that's what happens. And so yeah, Yuno goes up, all of the captains raise their hands, and Asta goes up, all the captains raise their hands, and he ends up choosing the Black Bulls, and everybody's pretty surprised. And then Fugolion asks, why are you joining the Black Bulls? And then he's like, because I am gonna become the Wizard King, and I'm gonna prove that I can do it by making the worst Magic Knight squad the best Magic Knight squad. And that's just how it's gonna be, cause yeah. And then he looks at Nozel and Captain Vengeance and Fugolion, and he's just like, you three are the closest to, sorry guys, that's my phone. And he's like, you guys are the closest to becoming the Wizard King, is that correct? And then they're all just like, yeah. And he's like, well, I guess that makes you all my rival then. And then he's like, but, you know, don't come crying to me when I'm the one who becomes the Wizard King. And Yami's just laughing. And so, that's what happens. Obviously, joins the Golden Dawn. And then Yami comes down, and so does Finral, and they take Asta to the Black Bull's base. And Yami's just like, well, kid, welcome to the Black Bull's base. The worst Magic Knight squad. And then Asta just says, not for long. And then Yami just laughs. And that's actually where I'm gonna leave off this What If. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course hit the notifications. And press all, not personalized, because it's like you're really not gonna get all of the videos, when I post. So yeah, like I said in my last video yesterday, I'm definitely gonna try and start getting into the daily content. So far I have a chain of 2, so I think this is, pretty good so far. And I hope you guys, really enjoyed this series, because like I said, Black Clover, one of my favorite anime. It's like really up there high on my list. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. You already know who it is. What If King signing off. Peace.